Okay. So, for agriculture, you guys, that is our central theme. Okay, from now until the end of the year, every unit has like a central theme to it. Okay, and I want you to think of every class period like a part of a puzzle. So today we're going to kind of set the foundation for agriculture. So kind of think of it like the border of a puzzle. And every time you come in, we're going to add more and more pieces until at some point you're going to see the entire picture. And those light bulbs are going to kind of go off and you're going to see how everything connects. So I am breaking it down for you how I learned how to do it. So that way it kind of makes sense all at the end. So all I ask right now, you guys, is no phones. If you've got AirPods in or something like that, just pull them out for now. You can do all that stuff later when you're working. But for right now, just clean slate, okay? So this is your map. Yours should look pretty much exactly like this. The only thing that yours is missing is the lines of latitude. So I'm going to draw those on here really quick. So we start with 0 degrees, which is the equator. Then you guys have 30 degrees north labeled. You have 30 degrees south that is labeled. And then is the other one at the 60 degree mark? Right? 30 to 60? Okay. So roughly. All right, you guys. So latitudes, lines of latitude are flat. So think latitude, flatitude. That's how I always, stupid, that's how I always remember it. Latitude is what makes places have shared climate. All right, so here's the equator, 0 to 30 degrees north and 0 to 30 degrees south share similar climates. Anything around the equator is always going to be hot. Okay, so if you guys look, Brazil and Sub-Saharan Africa share in a tropical climate. You've got dry climates here. You have dry climates here. Okay, so that's the first thing, you guys, is to understand that different places in the world, as long as they share a line of latitude, you are going to see very, very similar climates. Now, this is important. So, what season are we going into in the United States? We're going into fall, we're going into winter. What about Australia?
Summer.
Spring and summer, right? So this is why this is important. There are things that we cannot grow because we're going to be in the dead of winter, especially like the Midwest and like our area, growing things like corn and wheat. It's a little bit of a struggle in the dead of winter. So we rely on other countries to do those things for us. So you guys, if there are things that we cannot grow in the United States during our winter months, we rely on places like Australia to help us meet that. Okay? We also rely on places like Brazil or the Congo or India to grow things that we just physically cannot grow because we don't have those climates. All right? So that's important, you guys. Climate plays a big part in why people grow the things that they do and why countries have trade relationships. Okay? So we're going to do the bottom right portion of your map. Okay, so if you look at the bottom right portion of your map, you have different types of agriculture. You have 6 different types of agriculture. Our goal today is for you guys to see that relationship between climate and farming. All right, so number 1 is shifting cultivation. So my guys right here, you guys live in the Amazon. Okay, so for right now, they live in the Amazon. All right, they live in a less developed part of the world. They are struggling economically. Okay, but they still need to farm. They still need to make food. They are going to practice shifting cultivation. Okay, so what you do when you practice shifting cultivation, you guys, you shift. So you start on one plot of land. So Andy is going to be one plot of land. All right. They are going to start on Andy's plot of land, but they're in the Amazon rainforest. So before they can even do anything, what do they have to do to the rainforest?
Slash and burn.
They have to cut it down. So you guys, they slash it and they burn it. It's the easiest thing to do. It doesn't cost a lot of money. So they're going to slash and burn, and they're going to grow on Andy's field for 2 years. Okay? When his land is done, they pretty much can't farm on it anymore. They're going to shift to Caleb's, and they're going to do the same process. When Caleb's land can't do anymore, say 2 years, they're going to shift to Andrew's. When Andrew can't do it, they're going to shift to Deb. In 8 years, they're going to go through 4 different plots of land. By the time they get back to Andy's, it has naturally refertilized itself, and now he can start farming. So, where would shifting cultivation go on this map? Where's the world's biggest rainforest?
South America.
Right, Amazon, Brazil. I heard it. Somebody said it very quietly. So you are going to take your marker, whatever color you are using, and you guys are going to put a number 1 over the Amazon rainforest. All right. I just want you to visually see this type of where this type of farming is done. Okay, there's one other place in the world that has a relatively large rainforest that also has to practice shifting cultivation. Where is that at? And if you have no idea, you guys think about it. Shared latitudes, shared climates. So where else would shifting cultivation be done? Christian?
Africa.
Got it. So you guys, in that middle part of sub-Saharan Africa where you also see that tropical, you're going to put a number 1 there. All right, you guys, look. Both tropical climates, both rainforests in the exact same laying of latitude, and they both practice shifting cultivation. Okay, that's all I want you to see right now is same type of farming, same type of climate, same type of latitude. That's it. All right, intensive subsistence is the second type of farming that's on there. Intensive subsistence is intense. Okay, and you're farming to feed yourself and your family. The main crop with intensive subsistence is rice. Okay, rice has to be grown in super wet, super rainy areas. What parts of the world grow rice? Caleb?
Asia.
Asia. Okay, specifically, you guys, if you're subsistence farming, you're doing it for yourself and your family. So we have a lot of ground in Asia, so it's got to be rainy, and it has to be places that don't have a lot of money and are not very wealthy. So what parts of Asia specifically would that fall under?
China.
Okay, so the lower portion of China, and then what is underneath of China? What do we call this little region right here?
Korea.
Over here?
The neck below China.
Korea's over here.
Oh.
Right down here. What do we call that? It's part of it.
Indochina.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but think back to our regions. Does anybody? Anybody?
Southeast Asia.
There we go. All right. So Southeast Asia. All right. So you guys, you're going to put a number 2 here. And then you're going to put a number 2 over here. Okay. So Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. So not East Asia, but South and East. You are going to see rice. Okay. It is a very intense, it is a very laborious thing. Okay. And again, you're doing it to subsist on. But you guys look at shared latitude. Even though they're on top of each other, they still share the right by the equator. So they still share in that physical feature. All right. The third one is pastoral nomadism. What do you do if you were a nomad? Okay, you go places. What does that mean though? Everybody goes places. What is it actually? If you are nomadic, what is your lifestyle?
Migration.
Yeah, you migrate, you wander, right? Nomads move constantly. Okay, so pastoral nomadism is moving with animals. So you do not have a lot of money to have a bunch of land for your animals. So you move with your animals to find water. You move with your animals to find food. You move with your animals to graze. Just relax. It is done in very dry climates. So what part of the world has kind of the largest, biggest, driest climate? Jake? Okay, so Northern Africa. So you guys, pastoral nomadism is going to be there. So Northern Africa. And then what do we always pair with North Africa? What do we call that? You guys always call it something else, but it actually has a name. What's this region?
Southwest Asia.
There we go, Southwest Asia. Beautiful. All right, you guys look at, again, shared, right? Those climates are shared with each other. All right. Livestock ranching is the money version of pastoral nomadism. So livestock ranching, I want you to think Texas. I want you to think cowboy ranchers. Okay, I want you to think of like just big open areas with tons and tons of cows hanging out. Okay, so it is the money version, the commercial farming version of pastoral nomadism. So the first place for livestock ranching is going to be in that dry climate part of the U.S. Again, you guys, it does match. And then what would be the partner of that? Where else do we see that dry climate in a part of the world that's way more developed? Australia. So you guys, you're going to put a 4 here too. All right. Again, shared latitudes. Even though one is north and one is south, they still share those latitude coordinates, right? 20 to 40. 20 to 40. All right. Mediterranean. They grow grapes. They grow olives. It's around a physical feature that shares the name of the climate. So what countries would that be with the Mediterranean? All right, come on. Mediterranean. What physical feature does the Mediterranean climate go with? The body of water. Andrew.
Sea.
There we go, Mediterranean Sea. All right, so what country do you think of in Europe that has a ton of grapes, is known for growing wine, has vineyards? Go.
Italy.
Yup. All right, you guys, so Italy and Greece are countries that are around the Mediterranean Ocean, or Mediterranean Sea. Ooh, I almost said Mediterranean Ocean. Mediterranean Sea. Okay, you guys, Mediterranean climates are summer, and their winters are just cool. They're rainy. They don't actually have legit, like, full-blown blizzards. Okay? So you have Italy and Greece, Spain and Portugal, share it. And then, you guys, we also have a place in the United States that is also very hilly, that is also known for growing grapes, that's also known for wine. Anybody know it? What? Yeah, 100%. California. Okay, you guys, look at, again, 5s just across the board. All right? That's really, and honestly, if you're looking at this and you're like, oh, this is a lot to look at, all I want you to do is just see the shared characteristics. Shared climate, shared type of farming. Okay, last one is plantation. Plantations is coffee. They grow tea. They grow bananas, sugar cane. They are also done in warmer climates. Noah.
Like tropical islands.
Okay, so.
Or the Gulf Islands.
All right, so we've got one here. So we'll put the 6 there. These would be our like Caribbean. This would be your Central America, Honduras, like all of that. Those have plantations. And then you guys, historically, plantations were created by colonial powers. Great Britain, they went into places and said, you have this climate, you are going to grow this for us. So Africa, West Africa is a big one. All right, I'm going to have you add one last thing to your map, and I don't care where you add it. If you have room up towards the top, or if you have a little bit of room down here, you are going to add one last thing to this map as just a reminder of why we did this. I want you to put shared climate equals shared agriculture. So wherever you put it, you're going to do shared climate and then equals shared agriculture. Okay, this is our first step to getting a wrap on agriculture. Okay, once you guys have that, shared climate equals shared agriculture, I want you to get your notes out and I want you to open up to this chart. While you are getting those out, I am going to give you a little cheat sheet that's going to help us with this. It's the get your note packet out, and it should be the very last thing after the end of topic 1. You should see a chart. It looks just like that. Ooh, I'm sorry. It's just one of those days. I'm alright with that.
Does it feel like Monday?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. You are welcome. Alright, you guys, it should look like this. And then keep that little cheat sheet out. All right, so our next foundation. So shared climate dictates what you're going to grow. Always. Shared climate, the type of climate you have dictates what you're going to grow. This is going to help us understand that, yes, climate tells you what you're going to grow, but the country that you live in kind of tells you how you're going to farm and if you're going to make money off of it or not. All right, so that's what this is. This is our other foundation piece. This is going to tell us if I live in North Africa, if I live in Africa in general, I'm probably farming just to survive. Okay? If I live in Europe, I'm probably farming so that I can sell it and make a profit off of it. So that's what this chart is going to be. So the handout that I gave to you guys is basically your notes for topic 1, just on one page. So that way when we are going through this chart, I can have you guys reference that page without having you flip back and forth through your note packet. All right, so I took the notes that you did and just shortened them up a little bit and then gave you guys some imagery to go with it. So the first thing that I need you to do is, you see this chart? I need you guys to add intensive and extensive equals under the left side, and then commercial and subsistence equals under the right side. I don't know why those weren't added in there in the first place. You don't have to do them in boxes, but if you just want to write intensive and extensive and then equals on the left, and then commercial and subsistence equals on the right. All right. If you look at that sheet, and when you were doing your notes, intensive farming is intense. Okay, so if you look at that sheet, intensive farming talks about greater inputs or basically putting in more work. So greater inputs means that you are using more labor to do this type of farming. You are needing to put in more money to do this type of farming. You are needing to have more land, possibly, to do this type of farming. So you guys, think about this. When you are in here, your vocab is the most intense assignment that you have. I see you all the time when we do vocab. You guys write a couple words and then I see you shake your hands out. Like you kind of do one of these, you're like, oh yeah. Okay, let me like just shake it loose a little bit, crack my knuckles. Okay, let me start again. That, you guys, think about that. Think about intense farming. Okay, it is back-breaking labor. It is very hard. It's very manual. So that's what intensive is. So when it says greater inputs of labor and capital, it just means that you're having to put more into that type of farming. Extensive means it's just a little bit easier. Okay, you're not putting in as much money. You're not putting in as much labor. Okay, it's a little bit easier. So look at intensive actually has intense kind of written in it already. And then if you think the opposite of intense, that is extensive. All right, so we're going to start with this box down here before we fill in the rest of this. So for intensive and extensive, I want you guys to write, so intensive and extensive equals, this is what goes into, bless you, this is what goes into the farming process. So when you see the words intensive or you see the word extensive, you know this is what I have to do in order to actually be able to farm. This is how much effort I need to put into the farming process. So you guys, if, however, whatever wording helps, but for some people, they can see the word input and know exactly what it means. So you guys, when you see the word intensive or you see the word extensive, this is what you are putting into the farming process before you can eat the food, before you can sell it. What do I have to do to actually grow the crops? How much land? How much machinery? How much labor? Okay, so intensive and extensive is what goes into the process. We are going to practice this on Monday. So if this is giving you a headache right now, I got you. Don't worry. We're going to practice. Okay, so if this is what goes into the farming process, when you see commercial and subsistence, what are we looking at? What comes out? Yeah, so this is the output. So you guys, commercial and subsistence is what comes out of the farming process. Or if it helps, the outputs. So I put in all of this effort, but I'm getting all of this money out of it. Or I have a lot of land, but I'm also getting money out of it. I'm putting in a lot of labor, but now I have food to feed myself and my family. Okay, so commercial is what you're getting the money. Subsistence is feeding you and your family. You're subsisting off of it. All right, so you guys, when you see like extensive subsistence or intensive commercial, separate those words and break them down. What does intensive mean? What does commercial mean? Do them separately and then put them together. All right, so we're going to walk through this. So for intensive commercial, to be able to put what you're putting into it before you can even do the farming process, all right, you have to put in a lot of land. So before I can even begin the farming process, I need to make sure I have a ton of land readily available. I need to make sure I have a ton of labor Do I have enough workers? Okay, this is my and symbol. My third hour made fun of me for this a lot. When you see this little guy, that's my and symbol. So there you have to put in a lot of land, labor, and you put in what is called capital. And then if you guys want, in parentheses, capital means money. So know the word capital, but make yourself maybe a little note and put money next to it, or a little money symbol. All right. Do me a favor and look at that cheat sheet before we do the last part of this. Look at that cheat sheet, okay? Look at plantation farming. All right, so second picture in the left column. Look at the plantation farming. Okay, first off, look at how much land is in that picture. Okay, how much is actually there? All right, plantations are a type of intensive commercial. So that is a tea plantation in it's either India or a little island off the coast of India. So you guys, here's the deal. You need a ton of land for plantations. They always take up a ton of land. Bananas, coffee, you're growing a lot of it because you're selling it to make a profit. So what you have is land. Then you also need a lot of people. So you guys, this is back-breaking, ridiculously hard work. So these people, you can kind of see it in that picture. They have baskets on their back. All right. They work in these fields 8 to 10 hours a day. And this is what they do. They walk around with a stick and they set it on top of the tea leaves. So they're actually like walking through the tea plantation and they set it down on top of the tea so that it would actually be like eye level. So they do this. They set it down. Any tea leaves that stick up above the stick are ripe to pick. They do this for 8 hours a day. Every day. With a stick and a bag on their back. Okay? That is intense. That is a lot of work. Okay? And they're not getting anything out of it. The company is the one that's making money off of it. So you guys, these people are working really, really hard for companies like Lipton Iced Tea to make a profit off of it. So we can go to the grocery store. We can go to the cafeteria and you can buy iced tea. You can get your Arnold Palmer's. You can do whatever. That's what intensive actually means. How much is going into the farming process? And then commercial is that farm is making money off of it. So your example, you guys, I just want you to put plantation farming. All right. Does that make sense though? Think about how much work goes into it. All right. Intensive subsistence. For this one, it's a small piece of land. So this one's a little bit different. They have a smaller plot of land that they use. That's where the subsistence comes in. They don't have a ton of money, right? Vietnam, Laos, Indonesia, they're not more developed. Okay, they're struggling. So you have smaller pieces of land to work with, but, and I'm going to do it in huge capital letters. We're going to do a big but. A lot of labor. Okay, that's where the intensive comes in, is the labor part. All right, and what was the crop? Do we remember? Asia. There we go. So this is your rice farming. You guys, rice is this big, cooked. All right, think about how much effort has to go into cooking something that's this big or into farming something that's this big to have enough of it to be able to feed yourself and your family. Okay, so they're working on a very small plot of land. Okay, some rice farms are massive. That's not the norm. Okay, but if you're subsistence, you're doing this for yourself and your family. So you have a little plot of land and you are continuously having to farm to get enough rice out of it in order to be able to feed yourself and your family. So it is a very labor intensive process. Okay, so again, intensive, that's what goes into it. And then subsistence is what comes out that you are feeding yourself and your family. All right, extensive commercial. For this one, you are looking at a lot of land. All right, so you're looking at a massive piece of land. All right, we're going to do a big but again, but very little labor. That is what makes this extensive, is the little labor part. Okay, extensive means you're just not working that hard. All right, it's not manually aggressive. Okay, so extensive commercial means you're making profit. So livestock ranching. All right, you guys, look at the bottom right picture. Has the livestock ranching. And I know it's a little smaller, so it's kind of hard to see, but look at all the land. Like, look at how much space. Okay, that entire picture, basically aside from blue sky, that entire picture is land. There are cows everywhere in that picture. Okay, from the foreground to the background, left to right, there are cows everywhere. Okay, the idea is this farm is going to sell that meat to a company, and they're going to make a profit off of it because that meat's going to end up at McDonald's or Burger King or in the grocery store. So you guys, you need a ton of land in order to be able to have a lot of cows to make that profit, but it doesn't take a lot of work to do. They're smart. They know where they need to go. They know that they need to go over here to get fed. They know they hang out over here. They know every once in a while a guy's probably going to come around on a horse and kind of like redirect them somewhere if like weather's bad. That's pretty much it. You guys, they take little to no effort at all. They are very smart and intelligent, but you need the land because you're wanting to make a profit off of it. Okay. It just doesn't take a lot of work. So that little labor, again, is what makes it extensive. Okay. Extensive subsistence, again, is a lot of land. All right, so again, think the land extends kind of out. Our examples, so we're going to leave it at just a lot of land for that. Our examples, shifting cultivation is one. You guys remember my Amazon farmers? Okay, you need a lot of space because you need to have multiple plots of land in order to shift every so many years. Bless you.
Thank you.
And then pastoral nomadism, that's our other one. Okay, so again, this is the subsistence form, pastoral nomadism, of livestock ranching. So if you guys look at the pastoral nomadism picture, right? You can see the kid, he has nowhere near as many animals. Those are his goats, and he just walks them. So he's the one that takes them to food. He's the one that takes them to water. So when you guys are doing your notes, there's a picture after livestock ranching, and it had a picture of like a line of bulls like walking towards you, and then it had the livestock ranch on the other side. The picture on the left I took when I was in Uganda. So I lived in this village like this little rural-esque village in Uganda for 3 weeks. I was there for a total of 5, but I was in like a couple different places beforehand. But the one village that I lived in, our like where we stayed was here, and you like walk out of where we stayed, and like you kind of walked out of the little like where they had some like shops and stuff like that, like out, and then you hit this like dirt road. It was this like red dirt road, and it was like half a mile, 3/4 of a mile to then where our like conference building was. So it's me, it's this girl from Chicago, there's a girl from Singapore, and then 3 of our people were from the UK. Very suburban, very like go to Starbucks, like I get in my car, I just go to the mall, like that kind of thing. So we're walking, and it was the first day that we were making this like journey, and we turn the corner, and there's this massive bull, like he's just eating grass, and he like lifts his head up, and he has these huge horns, and we just like paused. And it was like almost like Jurassic Park, like the T-Rex, like maybe if we don't move, he like won't see us. So we all just like froze, and we were like, oh my God. And I'm like talking to Shelby, the girl next to me who's from Chicago. I was like, dude, what do we do? And she was like, I don't know. And then we see the kid like sitting off to the corner, just crying, laughing. Like he is dying laughing at us. And the bull just like looks at us, and he's like, yeah, whatever. And just puts his head back down and just keeps like chilling. So I go over and I talk to the kid. I'm like, hey, like, you know, what's up? What's your name? Like, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what is this? And he goes, these are my family's bulls. He goes, watch this. And he gets up and he starts to move, and the head bull like pauses and starts to kind of follow him. And he goes, everywhere I go, they go. He goes, so I walk them to water every morning. He goes, I walk them over here to graze and relax. I take them over here to shade, and then I take them to food. So literally this kid would just get up and walk, and the head bull would follow, and then all the other ones followed after him. But they didn't have enough money to have their own land with a section for water and food and all of that. So he had to walk them to get to all of these places. So he needed all of that space, but you guys, he literally just sat in the grass and like played with grass stalks and like just kind of like hung out. He didn't really do much of anything. The cows did it all. So that's that extensive idea. Not a ton of labor, ton of land, but it's subsistence because his family used every part of those bulls. They used the hides for shoes, for bags, to trade. They ate the meat, every single part of it they ate. If they wanted pigs, they would trade with somebody else. So you guys, that's where the subsistence come in. That is literally how they survived, not to make a profit off of. I will have this up on Canvas. I will have a clean typed version of this up on Canvas. But here is your deal. 1 second. All right, so here's the deal. We are going to review this again on Monday. You guys are going to be kind of putting some of this stuff together so that we can kind of get the bigger picture. But your job for the rest of the hour, you can listen to music, but not play games on your phone forever or not do anything at all. You can work on your vocab. If you have any questions on the vocab terms, in terms of like, how do I shorten this? How do I make this easier to understand? Come up to me and say, hey, like this definition is really long. How do I shorten this bad boy to make it a little bit easier for me to understand? I will walk you through that. And then you guys have a section of notes that are also going to be due. So that is your job. Listen to music, work on your homework, work on your vocab. There are no examples on the vocab quiz. It's just straight definitions, but do every part of your vocab list. So if there's not extra info in the Quizlet, just draw an X in the box. Some of them do not have extra info. But make sure you guys, you do every part of it, okay? And again, I am here if you need me.